So, hey everyone, today we have with us Miss Anushka Chakravarti, who was my senior in IIT Patna, and she's currently a open source person who's working as a consultant in Accenture Japan. And hey Dee, how are you doing? Tell the audience a little about yourself, please.
So I'm Anushka Chakravarti, as Chansol already said. I'm a 2023 pass out from IIT Patna, and I'm currently staying in Tokyo. I got into Accenture Japan through on-campus selection, and I am a very strongly open source person, and I like contributing to open source code. I have currently taken a hiatus from it, but I plan to come back to it in like a month or 2.
So, how's Tokyo, Dee?
Huh. So Tokyo is everything that you see in the mangas and animes and nothing like that. Because
Okay,
you come here and you're like blinded by these really, really pretty places, people, this huge city, this ultra clean people, and even the metros. In the metros, you're supposed to be quiet. You're not supposed to
okay,
talk at all so that people can sleep because
hmm,
commutes can be very hectic and very long. And people are very workaholic in Tokyo. Like they
hmm,
start at 7 if they have to reach somewhere at 8:30 and the commute will
hmm,
take 1 hour 15 minutes, they try to get there like 15 minutes before. Everything runs on time. If they say the train's gonna be on 13:15, train's gonna be on 13:15. there's
hmm,
there's like nothing's ever late as such,
hmm.
almost ever.
घर का खाना याद आता है आपको?
Ouch.
I'm
Ouch.
sorry.
That was unexpected. I actually was missing Asima, our girls' hostel's food, because
Okay,
that was you don't have to worry about what to cook. And the biggest problem here in Tokyo is food.
okay,
Sometimes I cook something for one day and it lasts me the next, like the entire day, and I have to cook a lot of food. Food is the biggest issue because in Tokyo, वेजिटेरियंस के लिए खाना ऑलमोस्ट नहीं मिलेगा एंड हमारे जो प्रीवियस इंडियंस थे जो यहाँ पे आए थे दे गॉट सम शॉप्स एंड वी जस्ट गेट स्पाइसेस एंड सब्जीज एंड एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम देम एंड vegetables are so expensive. Like you will get really branded clothes for really cheaper, and vegetables will cost you just as much as one jacket or one sweater from H&M,
okay,
right? And
okay.
that's very expensive. It's like fruits are through the roof. You can't imagine to eat fruits every day. Ugh, food is the biggest problem in Tokyo almost. And also not if you're non-vegetarian because you get a huge variety of food in the convenience stores.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's like nice if you know Japanese, and it's very troublesome and sad if you do know Japanese and are vegetarian.
Okay.
Hmm.
Sad for you then. Mm. How was getting into IIT Patna for you?
Okay, that's you are just throwing these curveball questions at me. You have to tell me something, give a build up or something.
Okay,
Right.
fair
So
enough.
IIT
Hmm.
Patna was it was a roller coaster ride because once you get
Hmm.
into an institution, you expect so many things, especially from an IIT. But actually, it's a new IIT and also it's very, very far away from the city. So it has its own pros and cons. Being so far away from city means that you cannot go anywhere, and that basically means you're holed up in your room or the library and you're just working on your thing. But it also means that you feel so alone sometimes.
Yes.
Right. So I felt very alone for most part of IIT Patna, like my duration in IIT Patna. And I just absorb myself completely in whatever work I was doing, or I would have like one or two people that I like talking to about different things. And I made sure to make use of whatever things were given by IIT Patna to us. Say I was very involved in basketball or the cultural things and aspects, and the technical culture is very good in IIT Patna, so I try to stay at like up to date with it. And first year की पहली CPI was very bad, तो समझ में आ गया था ब्रांच चेंज नहीं होनी है, बस इतनी हाई रखनी है कि अच्छी प्लेसमेंट लग जाए. So I just didn't focus as much on academics and focused on say
Hmm.
doing remote interns and skilling myself and everything like that. And I was pretty lucky and unlucky because COVID came, but COVID didn't last too long for us.
mm, mm,
And I was able to do a lot of side work during the time period of COVID itself, right? Because I think it's tougher for you all because you have to handle going to classes and coming back and hanging out with friends and having a full social life and everything. But we didn't have to worry as much. It was like खाना मिल जा रहा है घर पे आराम से मम्मी दे रही है खाना. You don't have to worry about your clothes. You don't have to worry about just going outside with friends and everything. So yeah, it's like it's it's a very long journey if
mm,
you know what you're aiming forward to and keep yourself well engaged, you will probably survive it properly. If not, then you won't really get that much out of it. I was lucky. I think I was lucky and
mm.
had good peers in that sense.
That's great, Deep.
Hmm.
How did you get into the coding journey? How did the coding journey for you started?
It started before I chose my IIT. I basically was getting other IITs, like even IIT BHU, but I wanted to go for an IIT where there was a very strong technical culture. People were like the students would be hungry enough because the placements were not that high unless they were technical. So I actually like strategically put IIT Patna Chemical in there because I knew chemical ka course load उतना नहीं होता है.
Mm,
And from first year itself, I tried to get in touch with my seniors who were into technical things. I started getting involved in different kind of technical aspects, and I took resources. I tried to learn as much as possible, no matter what kind of hardware I had, no matter like I would just watch videos from my phone if needed, and then go to the library and practice them if needed. I know this sounds so weird, but like if you're in first year and you're just showing yourself that you're actually interested in it, then in college, especially IITs, especially IIT Patna, I feel we have such a good culture with the seniors will always help you out and
mm,
will never say no to a junior who's genuinely wanting to do something good enough in that field. That's my experience, and I try to do the same because that has changed my entire life. That's the basic reason why I'm sitting here, even, right? So that's how I got into coding. I just started learning some WebD. I started doing some CP and C++. I would have continued that, but COVID happened. So I just shifted to like Android dev, and I was like, okay, how can I make a very strong impact? And so I went for GSOC, and I had this one senior, Karamatya Bhaiya, and other like really good people in dev, and they would just guide me on how to make proposals and how to apply for different places, and I'm still in touch with a lot of them. So that's like how the journey started, and I still like I was very hungry about coding itself, so that's how things are still going ahead.
okay. So what made you choose open source over CP and DSA? I mean, people
I
like,
was not good
mm,
at CP and DSA, simple as that.
okay, okay.
I really tried my best over like the first entire year, and the
Mm,
best coder from my senior years was trying to help me out with it, but it was just not working out properly.
mm,
So I was like, what am I going to write in my resume that I attempted this number of problems? So I was like, okay,
mm,
if I'm gonna try to do some projects, let me at least try to do some projects proper. And then I
mm,
was like, since I can't even do CPDSA properly and I have to anyways do it for placements, let me just give my second year completely to developing and like
mm,
development in general. So I went for open source and GSOC. Then I got into some remote work for startups for because that year was very good for startups. So they were building a lot of prototypes, right? So they were
mm,
hiring a lot of WebD and Android Ds. And then I like my neighbor actually told me about Igalia and how they have many projects in Android and React.js, and that's how I got into this one project uh, with Firefox's via browser callback. And eventually IIT Patna sent a mail to us saying XR open source something is happening, and I curated my proposal in such a way that it was good enough for the organization that I was targeting, right? So that's how I
mm.
got into XROS as well. Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. This was before December. in third semester.
Ah, right. The XROS thing was from May to September, and October, November, December, I've just been involved with Accenture. And January, like now, I'm thinking of going back into like I'm working at my own firm, and I'm thinking of going back into open source itself and understanding how that entire ecosystem works.
What is the firm about? Would you like to talk about it?
My firm at XROS.
No, no, you have a firm, right? You just mentioned.
Oh, right. So my firm Compile the Code is mostly about open source related things. I
Hmm,
try to tell the students who follow that particular page or follow me in general about how to contribute into open source, how to break into open source, what open source is about, because there's a lot of material about DSA and how to do CP and how you can learn C++ and the number of questions you should solve and everything. But open source is a much vaster world. And if you just stick to it, like for an year, year and a half, even if you don't know a lot and you just keep contributing properly, you
hmm,
develop a certain number of skill sets which are always in demand in the industry. Like you could be working as a DevOps engineer, or you could be working as a code base maintainer, or you could be working as a community manager. Like not just coding related work, but different fields that are related to technology itself, right? Hmm. So that's what I am trying to do, but it's kind of difficult with managing, like just
a
settling
job
in
and hmm,
here and
hmm.
the job and everything. But I think I'll be fine, hopefully.
All the best, Steve. Um, how was your GSOC experience? How did it start? How did you send the proposal, getting a mentor and everything?
It was full of ups and downs. I got COVID like in the year 2021. There was a really
Okay.
bad wave of COVID in March, and I got COVID, and I was working very well until then. Like I was going through everything that needed to happen, and I was like going through the code base of the particular project. And the thing is that project was really large, but there were not a lot of people who were doing that project because it was very tough to set it up, and that's how I had an upper hand in it. Like I just kept on talking with the community maintainers. I kept on trying to understand what the project was about and tried to keep on contributing in the like the smallest way possible, whatever it was. Right? I had zero hopes of getting in. But then my project by chance had a lot of openings for people they were looking for because the project size was large, but there were not enough applications coming in for them. So I got in and I worked on a little bit of front end, a little bit of back end, connecting with APIs and all those boring things. But yeah, and about the proposal, I just talked with my seniors about how I should curate the proposal,
Hmm,
and they helped me to understand that usually organizations are looking for an understanding of the project and a timeline breakdown of like how deeply you understand the project itself. What all steps would you be willing to take during the duration of your time period? Because the time period isn't very long. So they want
hmm,
very clear, concrete idea about what it is that you want to achieve during your tenure, right? And they don't
yeah,
just want it on paper. It really helps if you keep on communicating with the maintainers and like the community in general, try to understand what are the requirements and complete a few basic things about the project
hmm,
itself before the
hmm,
tenure starts. I know this sounds so complicated, but it's kind of not. If you just like keep following your instincts, it's actually not that tough. It just takes a lot more time. But if you're not very good at say logical things or DSA itself, this was like my last shot. So I was like, okay, let's just keep doing it. And I wanted to do GSOC by my fourth year at least once. So that seemed like a really good
hmm.
time. Hmm.
How was getting the stipend for you? I mean, uh, what did you
Okay.
do with it?
So it's so sad, but during my year or the year before that, they actually reduced the stipend,
Oh,
and I just got like $1,000
Okay.
Back then it was like 96,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees. That's a lot for a kid in for their second year, right? It's like a
Mm.
lot of money, and you're really afraid you will never be able to get this kind of money again in your life. And you're like spending, but you're also really afraid to spend it because you don't know what's gonna happen, right? So I actually went on this one trip with my brother and my friends to Rajasthan, and
Mm.
then eventually I got into some other works like remote work.
Okay.
So it was just there in my account for a long time, is what I'm saying. Just to like take a look at it. Wow, there's money in my account. Yay.
Were your parents happy? I mean, you were what, 19 or 20 and you made 1 lakh rupees.
So I actually knew people before me, before
Mm.
getting into GSOC, who were already earning while in college or didn't go to college and just started working at some firms, right? So they used to say that college isn't what defines you, it's the work you put in, is the skills
Mm.
that you have. And I honestly think like here there are people from IIT Madras, there are people from IIT KGP, and we are from IIT Patna, which is like second gen at that. And there are even people from IIT Bombay. Like, that's pretty good deal, right? But we are at the end or IITians, and it kind of really doesn't matter who comes from what college, as long as they have the skill set, the mindset, the drive. It's all the same starting point for all of us, right? So I would say that is what it was about for me too. Like once I got into college, I was like, I'm not doing anything now which does not align with myself. If I'm gonna do something, it's gonna be something which is important for me as a person, but not as a society, because we are already IITians. We just like we did what our parents asked us to do. Now let's just
Mm.
try to find out who we are as human beings, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
that was what it was about. There were people who were earning like tens of thousands of rupees from stocks, from shorting stocks during the COVID 20, and people were already earning in lakhs. So I wouldn't say it was a very new thing. It was more like, why am I not doing it sooner? I was like
Mm.
really happy that it finally happened. But yeah,
Okay.
that's it. That's what it was about.
Okay. This was second year, right? How was third year for you? How were the intern seasons and everything?
Very tough, very scary. I was like I used to think that since I didn't work as well as I wanted to because of my COVID during my GSOC, it was like, you know what, I'm not that good of an Android developer or something. And I would just be like, you know what, I would doubt my skills. And then eventually I started working at like different firms and I did pretty okay. I didn't do bad at all. And I realized that sometimes we just doubt ourselves and we just need to do the things and show ourselves
Mm.
that you
Mm.
know what, you're wrong, you actually can do so much more than what you think you can do.
Mm.
Okay, so I would say that what it's about. Like second year was just that, just getting and trying to get some experience so that I could try to get a really good intern, try to like get better at DSA so that I could get into a product based intern. But like for our year, the interns were mostly very CSE oriented. Like it's mostly CSE oriented for our college, I think,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And I just ended up taking this one intern at a startup called Go Chanakya. They were a fintech startup looking for creating backend, and they came on campus. Thankfully, that was like a startup summer, and everyone was doing
Mm.
startups.
Mm.
So that's how I got into them. And later on, I just joined Agalia, like post their tenure, I just joined Firefox that place. I had got other offers from like Air Black and like other places because once you start putting yourself out there and branding yourself correctly, you start receiving offers from people who are looking for people with the right kind of skill set, right? We say that there are no jobs, but it's more about we don't have the right skills for the job that there is in the market. For example, today there's a huge demand for graphic designers and video editors who are like quality video editors and designers. And in the initial, they get paid kind of the same amount that initial web developers get paid, like 10,000, 5,000 rupees, right? And eventually with experience they get like 30,000, 40,000 for if they start working for some really good YouTuber with good skill sets, right? So it's more about the job you're looking at instead of what you think the market is about, right? So that's what second year, third year was, just analyzing the job market and trying to tune my skill set for it.
were you worried about your placements fourth year में? मतलब being
Yes,
in.
I was extremely worried about my placement. So I might be going a little bit off topic, but I had like a few friends who would just go to and cry about मेरे प्लेसमेंट्स नहीं हो रहे हैं, मैंने इतनी मेहनत की फिर भी कुछ फायदा नहीं हुआ, मेरा एगालिया का इंटर्न नहीं हो रहा है, मैं क्या करूं, etc etc. And they would tell me like, don't worry so much. You have a decent skill set. You are doing the right kind of things. Eventually, even if not immediately, things would align for you, right? So what happened was I gave my first interview at some company which was eventually blacklisted, but it was not a very good company. Like IIT Delhi blacklisted it, different IITs blacklisted it, and yeah, I didn't go through with that. But the second company I went to was Adverb, and they were hiring only CSEs, and like one role was open for everyone, so I just applied to it. And that one was where I went to the last round, and the guy was like, "You have a decent understanding of robotics and everything related to it. But since you have such a software heavy resume, I'm going to recommend you to the software department. Go there and give the interviews." And I ended up going there and giving the interviews. And they selected no one from CSE and electrical and just me. And eventually that Accenture thing also happened. And I like got into Accenture, and like you have to accept an A1 offer instead of an A2 offer, something like that of a rule. Like Accenture paid higher, so we had to accept it and we couldn't reject it, is a normal rule in the college, like from the placement side. So that's what happened. And I even got a lot of like test links from say Salesforce and ServiceNow and everyone, but my DSA skills were not good enough, and I was like not interested in just copying code from different places. So that didn't happen as much. So I was like, okay, cool. We'll see. Now I'm in consulting. I can just see the world really differently. And I realize we are working with these companies, Sony Japan and Microsoft Japan and Siemens Japan. And it's such a big wide world. And we were like just looking at software itself instead of looking at that entire software development cycle of
Mm,
planning
mm,
and designing and building and testing. And I would write test cases during my GSOC, and I would think, why are we writing test cases and not the actual like front end? And now I
mm,
understand it 3 years later that if you don't write the test cases, it will just burn up on the production line and you will not be able
mm.
to do anything about it. And I hope I'm not, very muddled up. But
Exactly.
yeah, I was super, super depressed about placements until my placements happened. And I was very anxious about coming to Japan as well. But finally, I made up
Mm.
my mind saying, no, let's just go to Japan. Let's learn Japanese. It will be a once in a lifetime experience. Let's do that.
How did you pivot from a very software centric resume to becoming a consultant?
It was not extremely software centric. I
Mm,
had meant like when I was in college, I
mm,
had worked with uh, ESEL. I had worked with the entrepreneurship cell, that is. I had
mm,
worked with the like Google Developer Students Club as a lead, which
mm,
meant
mm,
community management. I had worked
mm,
with the basketball team, like the sports team. I was captain, kind of. And then I had worked with the your the cultural teams. Say,
Hmm.
I was a part of the dance club and the singing club and everything, but I left it eventually, right? And I was also involved with different programs, whatever was happening. So it's not like I was just into software. I was also involved there as well, like
Hmm.
in these things. Also, Accenture is a software based consultancy. So they
Hmm.
specifically tried to go for people who had a
Hmm.
blend of technology and software and soft skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I've heard you had a pretty interesting interview story, and would you
Oh,
like to share it?
yeah. Okay, so the morning of the interview, I actually came back from Varanasi at 5 a.m. and I thought
Okay.
that my interview slot was at like 11 and I slept in. I got ready and I didn't really want to do the interview. I was like, I already have a job. It's like, it's not gonna go through. I should not put any hopes on this interview at all. Let's just go and have fun in the interview. And I researched that company. Whatever company I give interview for, I researched that entire company. I researched its questions. Like, I had 15-20 minutes to prepare for it. So I just sat down and researched everything about the company, what they do, what kind of questions they ask, so that I could just
Hmm.
frame it in my head once.
Hmm.
And then I went ahead and I like talked with the persons. I knew what kind of answers I needed to give because I understood the company culture. I understood that what kind of answers they were looking for and how to align who I am towards those
Hmm.
answers. Then the the strangest interview round was the last two rounds, because they asked us about the Japanese culture itself. And I was very aware about the Japanese culture because there are a lot of tourists coming in from Japan in Varanasi, and I actually would sometimes talk to those tourists at the
Hmm.
ghats and everything, and we'd discuss about Japan. And I remember this one time, the first time I met a Japanese person was on the train station of Varanasi in 2013. And I actually explained that scenario to the soft skills round person because I was like, this interview is just not happening. Let's just have some nice little fun while we are at it. So that was it. And at the final round, I just knew how to create a proper storyline for the
Hmm.
interviewer. Like, a very unpopular opinion is that the interviewer is there to help you crack the interview, not
Hmm.
to grill you and like just shoo you away. So you
Hmm.
have to understand what they are actually looking for in you, right? If
Hmm.
they have selected you for this round, they are looking for a certain little bit more qualities. And if you just
Hmm.
show those qualities, they would be more than happy to just add them to your checklist,
Checklist.
right?
Hmm.
So we actually discussed, I actually discussed your name and House Moving Castle with my final interviewer. And like,
Okay.
I met her during one party as well. And that was that, yeah, mm, that was different.
Okay.
Don't do that. I would say I just did that because it was like a fun experience, a fun thing for me. But yeah, don't take that kind of risk. Be very formal, but try to read the interviewer's mind as well. Mm.
Okay. But I mean, me and along with few of my friends, we are kind of into the whole finance side, and we are aware that getting a consulting job after an undergraduate study is not possible. Not possible, I would say it's rare, right? So,
Hmm.
what is it that a consultant actually does? Matlab, an undergraduate consultant. I mean, post MBA, I think the rules might be different compared to pre MBA.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm. So I don't know about the other consulting firms. It depends on which department you join into, what are your
Hmm.
current qualifications, who you are going through,
Hmm.
right? Like Accenture is a software-based consultancy, so it means whatever role is assigned to you would somehow be related to technology. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, let's say there are some other consultancy firms you are looking forward to. Let's talk about, say, Goldman Sachs or McKinsey. So you have to look at what kind of postings do they usually give, or who are they looking forward to hire, right?
Mm,
Like if I talk about Goldman Sachs, people usually go into the SDE genre. Why? Because
mm,
Goldman Sachs maintain their own software systems and they are completely unrelated to the financial systems.
mm,
So what you should be looking forward to is who has already cleared into Goldman Sachs and what was the
mm,
pathway they followed is
mm,
what the traditional route says. What also you
mm.
could do is you could just I think Madhur Jan would have a better idea about this. I think you know
Okay.
about Madhur,
Mm,
right? He has a very good idea about this in general, like consultancy or consulting
mm,
firms in general.
mm,
But being very specific about this kind of skill sets you acquire would
mm,
actually help you break into wherever it is that you need to go to. Okay,
mm,
like Accenture is very specific on hiring IITians because they know IITians learn things very fast. And they want to prove to their clients that their workforce is very fast and learns very fast and implements very fast. So that's how they mainly just hire IITians for the brand value and like overall efficiency that we show in our work, right? So that is there specifically for Accenture. Let's say I wanted to shift to McKinsey. I would say that I would just gather a lot of work experience for that one particular job role that I'm looking forward to,
mm,
and I would chart out a map to that place. And I'd see, okay, have I acquired this? Have I acquired this? Have I acquired this? After acquiring all of these, what is the lowest possible thing that will still happen? What is the highest possible thing that would still happen? Something literally in between both, or something out of like something exceptionally good
mm,
is the basic possibility that's going to happen in that segment. At the end of the day, I have still covered wherever I wanted to go. Have I done everything that I could have done for it? If yes,
mm.
then I don't think there's a reason to regret about it. If no, then what can I do right now? Is a basic
Mm.
pathway.
Okay.
Like for me, the basic pathway was just because there was a huge recessive period. Just get a job first, think about what job you want afterwards. Like now that I started into consultancy, I'm thinking that I don't want to go into SDE. Maybe I want to go into code management or open source management itself, or technological management itself, or open source consulting itself, right? So I'm thinking these things, or even shifting into finances. But
Mm,
that's what it is about. You just keep networking, keep charting out pathways, and keep doing everything that you can do instead of like saying it's not possible. Like
mm.
just do it and see whether it's actually possible there. And network with like-minded people. Like yeah, the pooling of resources helps a lot.
Okay.
I was
Um,
I clear enough? I think I was very vague here. I'm sorry. It's like
no,
12:30 a.m. or 1:30 a.m. or something here, so it's like a little bit
it was cool.
shady for me.
I
Hmm?
got a brief idea. I got a brief idea. I hope everyone will get a brief idea about what you tried to say.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
last question I was last to ask is that where do you see yourself in the upcoming 10 years?
In the
Upcoming 10 years?
Uh, 10 years is a very long time for me to see myself. Let me answer that.
Okay.
Like, I don't know where I'll be 10 years from now. If you asked me 10 years ago, would I be sitting in Japan? Would I be working in Japan? I would say maybe, but let's just look at the next 2 years or maybe 1 year, which is more concrete, right?
Hmm,
Whatever I do in those 2 years will actually impact my 10-year journey. So I would rather focus on the upcoming 2 years and then the 5 year than the 10 years period. For now, I'm like working on compile the code. I'm trying to understand how to read markets. I'm trying to understand and how to read case studies, how to understand markets themselves, financial basics, about running startups, about primarily about Japanese. Like I'm trying to learn Japanese right now, and I'm thinking like just enjoy this phase of staying in
mm,
Tokyo, because I will not
mm,
stay in Tokyo forever, right? I hope
mm,
not to stay in Tokyo forever. And I'm also charting out where I want my career to be. Do I want it to be specifically in software? Do I want it to be specifically in finances? Do I want it to be in consulting? Do I want to stay at Accenture for a long time? Do I want to shift to some other concern? What are the things that I need to do? So, since it's a new gradation, my top
mm,
five priorities are learn Japanese,
mm,
travel Japan a lot, because I don't know if I'll be back in Japan, when I'll be back in Japan. Uh, Understand finances, understand how finances themselves work, understand how markets work so that I can tune my skill sets for the markets. Um, a basic thing that I see on the rise is AI. AI is
mm,
huge right now. It's not going to stop. AI, VR, AR, all three of these, right? So I am, since I've worked with VR, I'm trying to work a little bit with AI itself or understand AI itself. Okay. And yeah, I think just have a life as an adult, because we have been so sheltered while in college. Or India is actually very accessible and easy. I know it sounds so lame sitting here in Tokyo in an apartment saying India is
mm,
easy and accessible, but it actually is. Like, is one of the first things that you notice after coming to Japan is how extremely paper based the economy is. Even if everything works really well, everything is super pretty, everything is
mm,
very paper based for them. Like,
mm,
you have to go through huge, lengthy processes to get anything done. While in India, you just have to, do things digitally. You can do them from the ease of your home. You can just do
mm,
everything super easily. You don't have
mm,
to worry a lot about a lot of things, right? You can even deliver groceries at your home. You can't do that here easily, right? So, so that's what it's about. There are pros, there are cons. I'm just trying to learn how to survive for now and see where I go ahead. There are a few
mm,
pathways, but I
mm,
see myself working hard at the end of the day for wherever
mm.
it is that I want to be. Yeah.
When will you be coming back to India? I mean, this year.
I plan on coming back for my convocation around, it was supposed to be in February, but we received news that it might be around March. So
Mm,
I guess post Sakura season or like end of Sakura season. You
okay.
won't believe, but I had a Sakura wallpaper as my desktop for like 3 years. And the entire reason I was just trying to earn money properly was so that I could come to Japan in 2024 for the Sakura season. And that was a big reason why even if the Japanese economy isn't super growing, why I came to Japan was like, I want to experience the Japanese culture itself. Because
Mm,
everyone has this incredible idea of about what Japan could be like, right?
mm,
And
mm,
then you come here and you realize it's not at all like that. It's a little bit like that, and it's very like it's a strange new world. At the end of the
mm,
day, there's nowhere else on this planet like it. Excuse
mm.
me. Hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you,
So
Dee,
I
for.
hope I answered that. Huh?
Yes. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I mean, it was nice having a conversation with you. And
I
that's
hope I wasn't too vague about so many things. I
mm,
I wish you had sent me the
I,
questions beforehand so that I could just prepare a little bit more about what the conversations were about. But
mm,
it was actually nice coming here as well, because every day I kind of miss India a lot. Every day I feel I'm in India, but then I go outside and I realize that I'm not in India anymore. It's very unnerving, right? Because the
mm,
Japanese people are
mm,
very introverted. They stay
mm,
within themselves. They won't really talk with you. They won't strike up a
mm,
conversation. They're not like Indians. Even if you go to the gym, there will be like signboards everywhere that say that don't make sounds from the weight, right?
mm,
We have had police called on us a lot of times because people are partying too hard into like 1
mm,
a.m., 2 a.m., the
mm,
way we do in India.
mm,
And the police would come to us and they would note down our residence card numbers. And we would be
okay.
so scared because we are like these 20 somethings from India just trying to
Mm,
have fun, right?
mm,
So yeah, those things also happen sometimes, but
okay.
it's just nice. It's a new life experience. या
Mm,
मतलब बैंगलोर जाके जॉब तो कभी भी कर सकते हैं लाइफ में बैंगलोर या हैदराबाद
mm,
जाके दिस इज लाइक
mm,
जस्ट न्यू एंड फन you know once I even lost one wallet here with
mm,
6,000 yen which is like 53,500 rupees with and my like metro card and my ATM card and I just kept it on the seat and I was like so scared I would never find it. It
mm,
came like the problem is they didn't send me a mail. They sent me a
mm,
physical mail. Who sees physical mail nowadays? But they sent me a physical mail and I found it like 3 weeks later after its delivery and they still had it at the police station with all
mm,
the amount in it. And I have a little video of me saying arigato gozaimasu after receiving that purse because
okay.
on 25th December at that point. And that was so cool. That's like peak Japan moment. Yeah.
Oh, are you well accustomed with Japanese now? Can you speak normally?
I can speak enough Japanese to survive in the like grocery stores and metro passes and find a way if I'm like lost. But
Mm,
since we primarily have an Indian friend circle, we don't really use Japanese a lot. But the Japanese keep saying that my Japanese is pretty nice.
mm,
So we are surviving on Google Translate and we are surviving on Google Maps primarily
okay.
because all the routes look so same and this is like a freaking huge place, right? So
Mm,
I can speak basic Japanese. Accenture actually provided us with the basic Japanese training. I'm planning to
mm,
clear N4 or N3 this summer. So
mm.
let's keep our, fingers crossed. Let
Fingers
like
crossed.
hope
Yes.
that that goes through. So yeah. And even Japan has a worker shortage as a matter of fact. Whatever it's like in Japan, whatever human hands touch, it becomes
Mm,
expensive. Like the
mm,
accessories would be worth like 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, right? Because some human person actually made it with their own
mm,
hands.
mm.
And now it makes sense why the foreign shops in India would say handcrafted.
Handcrafted.
Because it's
Yes.
like it's handcrafted, everything's handcrafted because
Mm,
people like people labor
mm, mm,
people as a commodity of labor is very inexpensive in India
mm,
and it's
mm.
very expensive in Japan. Hmm.
You have been in Japan for around 6 months now, right? Or 5 months?
No, this is my fourth month and I
Mm,
can guarantee you I have had more experiences than almost anyone in my batch and almost anyone in my seniors as well because I just travel a lot and I get lost a lot and I still go out and travel again.
I
Yeah.
get I get so inspired as well as jealous by seeing your stories, and you are enjoying snowfalls, and here in Beta it is just
Just
shitty.
foggy. I would say just
Mm,
enjoy the foggy winter mornings of Bita
mm,
and the smell of that gate one
mm.
chai while you still can. Cause we freaking miss it. I freaking miss it. I never thought I would miss it, but I really miss it. Although it felt more like a jail while I was in IIT Patna. But yeah, यहाँ पे खुद सुबह उठ के चाय बनाने में लगता है कि हे भगवान चाय बनानी पड़ेगी फिर से कोई आके चाय दे दे या कहीं जाके चाय खरीद ले you can't do that none of the shops are open until 9 and you would hope that Tokyo is a party capital but all the shops close by 7 p.m. and people
Okay.
sleep by 9 p.m. every day
People sleep by 9 p.m.
9
Japanese time,
p.m.
right? Or IST.
yeah 9 p.m. JST
Okay.
everyone falls asleep by 10 p.m. because they wake up at like 6 to go to office at 8:30 a.m. because work
Mm,
starts from 9 to 6. It's not like India. 9 to 5 bhi nahi hai. 9 to
mm.
6 because 1 hour you get for lunch and you have to put in 8 hours of work.
Okay.
As in proper 8
Okay.
hours of work. And
Mm,
then people like don't want to cook and all. So they go to these ramen shops and they eat
Seven
outside food.
Eleven and
But
mm,
yeah, 7-Eleven, Lawson, Family Mart, all these places. And the fun part is, even if people eat a lot of outside food here, they have to walk so much because in
mm,
Tokyo, owning a car is very, 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 very expensive. Having a driver license is very, very expensive. We know our managers who have 6 years of driving experience, still they failed the test 4 times. And taking the test once is like 40,000 rupees, right? And
okay.
that's
Mm,
a lot of money. And then you
mm,
have to pay for parking space also. So space is a big issue in Japan. And once the vehicle is old, you have to pay the government to get rid of the vehicle. Like
mm,
here we have like second hands markets on Facebook and WhatsApp just because you have to pay the government to dispose of things. You cannot
mm,
just, it's illegal to just throw things, say dining tables or mattresses. You cannot just throw them. You have to pay the
mm.
government to dispose of them. That's why it's so clean. All the best. I hope things work out for both of us. Even I'm struggling, like settling into Tokyo, but it's just too fun and pretty, so I don't really
Mm,
mind it that much.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool, Lindy. Good night. Bye bye.
Cool. Good night. Bye bye.
ओ मेरा साथी मेरे साथ ना काटे ना कटे दिन रात ना ओ मेरा साथी मेरे साथ ना या ओ मेरा साथी मेरे साथ ना काटे ना कटे दिन रात ना ओ मेरा साथी मेरे साथ ना